You got used to browsing the web, playing games, and connecting with your friends on social media, all at the convenience of the iPhone in your pocket. But what if I were to tell you that there were many more hidden uses inside it? Back tap. Have you ever noticed that fancy Apple logo on the back of your iPhone? If you've got a cover on, go ahead and pull it off so you can check it out. Okay, you're now probably thinking, there's nothing secret about this, the obvious brand logo on my iPhone. Sure, it might not seem so special, but did you know that it's more than just a handsome decoration? It's also, as a matter of fact, a button. Don't believe me? Give it a try. But before you go tapping at it like you're using your phone backward, you'll need to adjust your settings. There's a reason this handy feature is considered a secret. First, pull up your settings. Tap on Accessibility and then the Touch menu and navigate your way to the very bottom of the list, where you'll find the Back Tap button. Found it? Great! You can choose the Double Tap or Triple Tap option, whichever you prefer, and best of all, you'll have a multitude of options to choose from. You can have your Back Tap feature take a photo with your camera app, alert Siri, switch apps, and even take a screenshot. It'll make things a lot easier than performing finger gymnastics when you need to take a screenshot. Adjust Siri's pronunciations. Have you ever asked Siri to call a friend? Maybe you've said, Siri, call Hermione, only for Siri to comply with calling Hermione. Okay, you may not have Harry Potter's best friend in your contacts list, but we can all agree it's not the easiest name to pronounce. Siri might be one of the most intelligent digital assistants in the smartphone game, and sometimes a bit of a smarty pants. But iPhone's companion can often struggle to pronounce even the most common names. If this bothers you, then you'd be delighted to hear you can actually correct Siri's pronunciations. The simplest way is to catch Siri in the act and say, "That's not how you pronounce." It will prompt Siri to ask for the correct pronunciation for each name, first, middle, and last, or the name of a place if it's not for a person. Once you've given it, Siri will generate some options, and all you have to do is pick the correct one. If your digital best friend is still struggling, it might help to spell it out. Open your contacts, select the person Siri is struggling to pronounce, and choose Edit. You can add the correct pronunciation in the Notes section using phonetic spelling and click Pronunciation Spelling to train Siri to get it right. Even a super smart digital assistant needs some help sometimes. Hey Siri, it's Leviosa, not Leviosar. Measure app. Is a toolkit too clunky to carry around? Or maybe you've forgotten which drawer you placed the measuring tape in. That's okay. iPhone has got some more secrets that will help you out. Did you know that iPhone has a few tools in its arsenal that will serve your carpentry needs? Take the Measure app, for instance. You no longer need that long, awkward-to-use floppy tape to get a measurement on your coffee table, bookshelf, or couch. The app uses augmented reality to measure objects around you using your phone's camera. The first thing you'll need to do is move your phone around so the app can analyze the area you intend to measure. You'll eventually find a white circle with a dot in the middle of your screen. From there, it's not so different from an actual measuring tape. Just line up the dot with the corner of the object you want to measure and trace it to where you want the measurement to end. If you're a builder, you might want to stick to the physical tape for more accurate measurement. This option isn't necessarily for the professionals, but the app is excellent for getting a rough estimate. The Measure app can also be used as a level. Simply switch over to the Level tab in your app and place your phone on the surface where you want to get a reading. When you get a green screen and a 0 reading, your surface is nice and level. It's not so different from the Compass app's Level feature, so you might have had some bad experiences with this feature before. With your new digital toolbox, your iPhone will make you the handiest person in the house. Create custom vibration. We all live pretty fast-paced and busy lives these days, and whether we're at work, in a movie, or at school, more often than not, we have our iPhone set to vibrate. Sure, there are some cool ringtones to choose from, but there aren't many occasions where a sudden tune coming from our pocket wouldn't distract those around us. Or worse yet, it leads to our phone being confiscated by a disgruntled employer or teacher. Luckily, there are plenty of vibration options to choose from. You probably have various ones for different occasions and different contacts. None of those settings quite your jam? Apple has a solution to this too. Another hidden feature in the iPhone is creating a custom vibration for your alerts. If you want to feel the beat to your favorite song when your best friend calls or texts, or when it's time to wake up in the morning, you create that pattern on your iPhone. Once again, you'll need to go into those handy settings, then in Sound and Haptics, choose the tone you'd like to customize. Tap Vibration. Then, create new vibration. The next step is to create those sweet vibrations like a soundless DJ by tapping your finger on the screen until you have the silent rhythm you're happy with. Now you've got a vibrate option to your liking. It might even make the early morning wake-up calls just a little more pleasant. Just like the Beach Boys, you'll be picking up good vibrations. Trackpad. With smartphones, we no longer need two hands to use a keyboard. All you need is one good thumb. Yet, it can still prove a little tedious sometimes as typos are easy to make, and all your characters can't fit all at once on that crammed keyboard at the bottom of your phone screen. You might be typing out a long body of text, only to realize you left out the R out of the word drive a few sentences back, which might give your friends the wrong idea about what you're doing. It can be a fiddly task to fix it, and it's often easiest to delete the entire word and write it all over again. Or so it may seem. If you're a stickler for good grammar in your text messages, you might want to shift your keyboard into trackpad mode for easier editing. That's right, another hidden gem on your iPhone. It's easy to access too. All you have to do is hold your finger on the space bar. All the other keys will gray out, and you'll be able to move the cursor to wherever it needs to go. Then, lift your finger off the spacebar to continue typing. Another tedium to writing on that tiny iPhone keyboard is shifting tabs to use numbers and symbols. It may not seem like much, but it's sure to be a little frustrating when you have to jump back and forth multiple times in the same message. However, there is another hidden feature in your iPhone's keyboard that will alleviate this. Hold it down instead of tapping on the numeric 1, 2, 3 tab, and it will bring up the Numbers and Symbols tab. As long as you're holding it, the tab will remain open to pick your character, and releasing will return you to letters. Soon, you'll be fast enough to write a novel on your smartphone. Did you ever tie a string between two plastic cups so you could talk to your friend from opposite ends of your home? It may have seemed pretty cool at the time, but that plastic cup couldn't tell you the weather or let you send an email, right? Indeed, we've come a long way since the string telephone. In fact, can you even imagine life before smartphones? They have become almost like our clothes or the shoes we walk in. It's almost our consistent accessory. Now you know some of these handy secrets, and you'll be an iPhone Pro. However, if these secrets aren't for you, there's always the string telephone. At least it won't run out of charge.
So, what are the signs if someone tracks your phone? Do you know how to tell if your phone's listening to your conversations? Here are some tips on how to deal with such malicious activities. Imagine you open a tab on your phone's browser, or you're chatting with your significant other without knowing that a stranger is monitoring the whole convo. How would you feel? The attacker, let's call him this, may see what you browse and whom you connect with. Yet they may not be able to see your messages. It depends on the way they choose to track you. If you install an app from a third-party app store, your privacy is in danger. You might do that without knowing that the app is harmful. Secondly, sharing your credentials through a phishing scam campaign is a possibility. Lastly, if your device's software has been out of date for a long time, like a year or so, it's more open to attacks. Now, what are the signs that your smartphone is tracked? The first clue is excessive background data usage. Keep an eye on it. If it's noticeably higher than what you usually use, investigate what's using most of the data. Is there an active hotspot enabled? Verify the connected devices and look out for an unauthorized one. The second clue is browser history. Sometimes attackers load up things like phishing sites remotely. If you see a mismatch in your browser history, well, that's a bad sign. The third symptom is battery drain. Yes, there was a time when phone batteries didn't last long enough, but in recent models, they can go up to days. If your device normally goes for quite a long time, but you get a sudden battery drain, you need to verify the background apps and installations. The last common symptom is abnormal reboot. Of course, it can be related to a hardware issue, but why should you risk it? You can consult an expert to determine whether the reboot is related to the hardware or malicious software that has been downloaded. The million-dollar question: how to stay tracking-free and safe? You can buy an anti-tracking signal blocker. This model on Amazon can also be used as a wallet. The phone will be disconnected and the GPS signal will be deactivated. It'll prevent tracking. Credit cards and IC magnetism will be safe in this bag too. And lastly, it has an anti-radiation feature. Okay, this model may seem a little extreme because, well, most of the time, you want to be accessible and use your phone. After all, you can't keep it inside a signal blocker case forever. So, here are easy tips you can easily apply to protect your privacy. First, uninstall unfamiliar applications. Wait a minute, I don't even know what that is. Well, hit delete. As I mentioned earlier, hackers generally track you through apps. You can also enforce application blacklisting. To avoid harmful side effects, always download apps from official app stores. Sadly, dubious ones can sneak into Google Play and the App Store, but the number is certainly less than a not trustworthy option. Another way to guard your phone is by creating strong passwords. And if you enable two-factor authentication for important accounts, that helps too. Similarly, a strong PIN would help, as people sometimes can't install spyware if your device is properly locked. You can use a reliable security system to strengthen the security even more. I know how tempting public Wi-Fi is instead of using your own data, especially if you're in another country for vacation or other purposes. Unfortunately, if the Wi-Fi isn't password protected, it's risky to connect to it. Hackers commonly use public Wi-Fi. They perform cyber attacks and steal sensitive data. If you're still suspicious that someone is tracking you, factory reset your phone. This is the most effective thing you can do. Sometimes, even though you delete the apps, a harmful file can be left. But hey, back up all your important data first before resetting the device. Don't tell me I didn't warn you if your dog's cute video got deleted for good. Now, we mentioned how to avoid tracking. Yet, in some situations, you want to track your own phone. Literally, you physically want to locate it. Although there are products put out by smartphone companies, there are numerous cheaper finder options on Amazon. This one here is easy to connect and has a ring for you to easily find your phone or other stuff like keys. Now let's say you mention this smart Bluetooth tracker to your friend in a conversation at a cafe. After some time, you will come across all types of key finder ads on your Instagram. Is it a coincidence, or is your phone listening to you? Long story short, it's true our phones do listen to us. Virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa listen to your voice all the time. It makes sense on paper. The assistant has to always listen to you so it can hear your command. Yet things aren't that simple. In 2019, a report found out that Siri sometimes mistakenly activates and records things. Some of these recordings are about private matters, too. It's said that Apple randomly selects small durations of conversations in order to make Siri analyze them. Then they see how to improve the service quality. It's not specific to Apple. Nearly all voice assistant systems work this way. But why do we see ads? Well, in simple terms, think of voice assistants as search engines. If you're looking for something and searching for it, you'll see ads related to it later. Now, if you feel unsafe and want to make your phone stop listening to you, there are a couple of things you can do. First, replace your smartphone with a pigeon to communicate. Now, the biggest problem with that, as I see it, is that you have to feed the pigeon and pay for the dry cleaning of your recipients. Okay, I'm kidding. Your phone listens to you through its microphone. You can disable Siri and its equivalents. After disabling voice assistants, go over to the apps you granted access to the mic. If an app asks you too many things to grant access, question it before blindly saying yes. Does a clothing app really need access to the microphone? I don't think so. Lastly, you can consider using a VPN to encrypt your manual browsing activity too. So, is it legal for phones to listen to you? The answer lies in the small box we tick about terms and conditions. We give them our consent and allow our data to be collected, trusting them not to use or sell it in illegal ways. Did you know that Apple CEO Tim Cook once said, "There's more information about you on an iPhone than in your home"? Prepare to be amazed or frightened about how much your phone knows about you. Companies collect data on your movements and location that's known, but they can also record your friends' locations too. Let's take Apple's Find My Friends as an example. I know it's super useful to find one another in a busy place, but when you use this feature, your phone quickly builds up data about where you have been, how much time you spent, and who you met there. Your phone can even understand your mood. Sometimes you do it willingly with a post or tweet, but background data tracked by the smartphone itself also has a pretty accurate ideas of how you feel. A study was made using a combination of phone sensors to figure out when someone was feeling depressed or manic. The study was conducted for 4 months. Researchers gave smartphones to 12 patients and told them to use them as their primary devices. The results were interesting. Researchers revealed that the device's activity and location data predict the patient's mood changes with 94% accuracy. Another crucial thing is your passwords. You don't have to memorize all the passwords because your phone or Google account remembers them for you. I know how convenient it is. If we think of the worst with saved account passwords, they will be available to anyone who gets into your phone. Your phone knows how often, when, and why you pick it up. Your sleep cycle, exercise routines, the list can stretch like mozzarella on a pizza. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll go and check my phone to see how safe I am. Mission safety is going to be accomplished soon. Have you ever wondered why phone charging cords seem so short? iPhone cables are usually about 3 feet long. Other companies make cords up to 5 feet, while some aftermarket cables can be 6.5 feet long. There are many reasons for this. One is that nobody wants to waste time untangling a 6-foot cable in their bag. Also, producing 3 to 4 different cable lengths would be impractical for companies. Shorter cables charge your phone faster. That's because there's less resistance in them and less voltage drop. With long cables, your phone will charge slowly because some of the energy is also wasted inside the cord as heat. It also seems like phones have stopped getting bigger, yet the number of cameras inside has increased. Multiple cameras are a luxury feature on more expensive phones. Each phone has a different purpose. A low-aperture wide-angle lens is great for capturing detailed close-ups, but not ideal for snapping things in motion. That's where a longer lens comes in. They make images look bigger from far away and allow less light through. With other camera pairs, one might take colored images, while the other snaps a monochrome pic. The result is a photo that combines color information from one lens and sharp details from the other. Additional lenses can help you snap photos from a different perspective, even if you're standing in the same spot. While scrolling through your phone, you might notice that your battery has swelled up. Most portable electronics have lithium-ion batteries, and this design is more reactive than others. Because it has fewer partitions between the cells, the entire thing is pressurized. Now, when these batteries overheat, become overcharged, or just get old, the inner cells can outgas a flammable electrolyte mixture. They're designed to contain the outgassing to prevent a fire. If the swelling is minor, the back of your phone might seem a bit weird, or there might be an unusual gap in the frame. In more severe cases, the swelling might rip the electronics open. If you notice that your battery is swollen, stop using your device and definitely don't charge it. Gently remove the battery without compressing it. Then insulate the metal parts of the battery with some electrical tape and take it to a disposal facility. If it's inside your phone and you can't get rid of it yourself, take it to a specialist shop. While you're watching brightside videos, you might notice that your phone screen comes on for no reason. This feature is designed to show you notifications on your phone when you pick it up or get a message. But it isn't perfect. Sometimes it will sense movement in your pocket, which can result in pocket dialing or accidentally tapping on the display. With Android phones, this feature is called the ambient display, and the iPhone's equivalent is the raise to wake. It uses the phone's accelerometer to detect when you lift up your gadget, showing you notifications without you having to push any buttons. Some people might find it too distracting though. Thankfully, it can be turned off through your settings. You're using your phone and you're just about to click on something on a website when you see a pop-up telling you that you've won a $1,000 gift card. Hooray! But why are you seeing it, and what happens when you click on it? The problem isn't with your phone nor your browser, it's with the website. The page you were looking at has a code in it, and that's what took you to a website with the shady message. This is a result of bad advertising. On most websites, ad networks load a bunch of ads that you see, and most of them compete for your attention. But some bad ads can make it into the network, and they only show up for certain people, which makes it harder for the website owners to spot. Web pages usually block specific ads, and ad networks will remove them. But most of the time, this will be after they're discovered. So here's what happens when you click on one of them. The message reads, "You've just won a $1,000 gift card. Click here to redeem your prize." When you proceed, it says you must answer 3 questions. Then the questions multiply, and you end up completing a 10-minute survey. In the meantime, you get asked for your details to confirm your address, name, date of birth, and phone number. In the end, you might spend half an hour completing the task without ever getting to that gift card, and you also reveal your details to someone that will use them later on. Which reminds me, have you ever received a call from your own phone number? This can happen for 3 reasons. The most common one is that a telemarketer is spoofing the caller ID. When they call you, you see your own number because theirs is hidden. It's weird, but these calls rely on the fact that you'll be wondering who's on the line to make you pick up. Another explanation is that the caller's phone number might be blacklisted and yours isn't. It's another way to get you to pick up. This kind of caller might also use a phone number that's identical to yours, except for 1 or 2 digits. At other times, it could just be a bug. With iPhones, Siri can place a call to your phone. But in any case, it's better not to answer it. It's highly unlikely to be yourself from the future. When you install an app, one of the first things it asks for is access to your location. A report in the New York Times found that apps with access to your location collect a lot of data from you. They then use this data to make money from targeted ads. But before you go turning off your location on all your apps, here are the ones that need it: weather apps, maps, health and fitness apps, social media if you're checking into places, smart home apps, your camera to add your location data to your photos, some games, like the one where you drive to a parking lot to collect a virtual creature. Which brings me to the next point. You've just mentioned to your neighbor that you're going to buy cat food. A few minutes later, you go on social media and a bunch of cat food ads show up. You can't help but wonder why your phone is spying on you. Well, as much as 17,000 of the most popular apps record what is going on through your phone. Though, don't worry, nobody's listening out for your secrets. Algorithms and artificial intelligence are just trying to send out ads to you that match what you like. On your smartphone, there's one trigger phrase for talking to Siri, and that's, "Hey Siri." But with websites, there are thousands of trigger words that make them collect data when you talk about things you want and places you want to go. But the real head-scratcher is the pricing of phones. Their price tags seem to skyrocket. There are a few reasons for this. One is that phones are getting harder to sell. Many people hold on to their smartphones for longer because they work so well. That's left smartphone makers with 2 options: either sell more phones or increase their prices. But extra features play a role too. Large screens, multiple cameras, and face recognition software make them more expensive to build. One study found that tech companies are now struggling to sell phones, and in 2019, they shifted to making less expensive models to appeal to people with different budgets. Me? Well, I'm waiting for the phony baloney phone to come out. Instead of spying on you, it just flatters you all day with stuff about yourself you really want to hear.
Drums, bass, strutting down the street, headphones in, trying to play it cool. On the inside, though, you're scared out of your mind. 5 minutes ago, you realized your headphones are stuck inside your ears. It's no joke. You try to pull them out, but they won't budge. The music isn't helping either. It seems like they're part of your head. Cute little Bluetooth headphones somehow got molded into your ears. When did that happen? You strut home and try to pull them out again, harder this time. Oh, but it's hopeless. It's like trying to pull your finger off. Only one thing to do: fall asleep and hope that tomorrow everything just somehow works itself out. Good night. 5 a.m. You sit up and feel pain. You slept most of the night on your left side, basically shoving one earbud even further in. Now it's so painful, you can't even touch it. No time for breakfast. You run out of the house and grab a ride to the nearest hospital. The doctor looks like he just saw a ghost. That's never a good sign. He admits that he's never seen anything like this in his life. The X-ray confirms it. The headphones have become part of your skull, and there's nothing you can do about it. He tells you not to sleep on your side anymore, and not to listen to too much music. Speaking of music, he asks, what gadget are you connected to right now? You point over at your phone. Then your favorite song comes on. Weird. You look over at the doctor, and at that very moment, your song switches to some upbeat pop thing. That song isn't even on your playlist. It's horrible. Oh, cool. Never mind. It turned off by itself. No, wait. You did that. You just stopped the song with your mind. Awesome! You leave the hospital and walk home, listening to a sad song. It starts to rain. You feel like your life is ruined. How are you going to survive with headphones attached to your ears? All those negative thoughts, and wham! Another song. But this time, you didn't do anything. Then whose music are you listening to? You notice a guy walking right at you. You stop and wait for him to pass. Once he's half a block away, the music stops. A woman in stylish clothes with headphones comes around the corner, and you suddenly hear indie rock. Now you stop at a traffic light and hear like 5 different music genres all at the same time. What's happening? With the power of your mind, you change all that noise into one soothing song. A skateboarder rolls past. You hear old school garage rock. Wait a minute. I can listen to other people's playlists? You don't feel so sad anymore. You feel like a superhero. Not the greatest superpower, but still, take the win. You pass by a construction site. Look over at a young guy lifting wooden beams. You hear some sweet dubstep. Then the man operating the crane catches your eye. Country music starts blasting from your headphones. You walk down the sidewalk and listen to every passerby's favorite jams. There's a little old woman with glasses coming out of a department store. You look at her. She winks. Then you hear a whole lot of hip-hop. Yo, Granny! You go further and see a beautiful woman. The clouds disperse and the sun rays fall on her face. She floats along and smiles. You spot the headphones in her ears. Whoa! It feels like a laser just went right through your brain. She's blasting some sort of growl rock at max volume. By the end of the day, you're exhausted from listening to other people's playlists. Time for a bit of well-earned silence. Your ears are super itchy, but you can't get your fingers in there. The skin on your ears is getting kinda irritated. This superpower is getting worse by the minute. The next day, you try to wash out your ears, so you pour water in, but nothing comes back out. Oh, that's bad. Extra moisture in your ear can cause a lot of bacteria to show up and set up camp. You start feeling weird and end up back at the hospital. The doctor says it's gonna be impossible to live like this long term. Headphones irritate your skin. Cells don't get enough oxygen. All that dirt and microbe activity can seriously damage your hearing. Okay, time to get serious. You hire a wacky scientist to create ultra-thin electronic ear cleaning sticks. Each tube is flexible and thin enough to squeeze past the headphones. One stick washes out all the bacteria with a disinfectant and cools down the ear so it doesn't swell up too much. The second stick is like a mini hairdryer, taking care of any extra moisture in there. This all means going to the doctor twice a week. After a month, you find out that your hearing's getting worse, bit by bit. Those little sticks aren't doing anything. Your life starts to feel like a constant, random playlist. You can't even sleep through the night anymore. At 3 a.m., a car passes by and you hear some quirky synth pop. The neighbors come home late and wake you up with their "We made it through another day" epic 80s playlist. You can control what you hear, but only if you're awake. Time to take drastic measures. You rent a house on the edge of a forest where no one can bother you. Now that you can finally sleep, you start to realize that it's super interesting to listen to other people's music. You start to understand them much better. You have this friend who's always joking around and loves to have fun, but for some reason, his playlist is all sad, dark songs. One day you decide to talk to him heart to heart. You find out that he's really unhappy, but he just got used to hiding it behind a mask of fun. After a few weeks of hanging out together, you start to hear good positive music on his phone. Hey, you did that. Soon, you decide to put the music on pause. Now you're all into podcasts and educational audio courses. You pick up new languages insanely fast, since you can just have them on 24/7. You enjoy everything from quantum physics lectures to interviews with Formula One drivers. Your headphones make you incredibly smart. One day, while listening to lessons about renewable energy sources, you start to wonder, how do your headphones still have a charge? Shouldn't they have turned off ages ago? You roll up to the nearest physics research center and tell the scientists about your unique case. After a bunch of research, it turns out your headphones get energy from tiny electrical charges created by your body. They also tell you that your skin and cartilage have fused to the rubber and plastic of the headphones. They're now officially an organic part of your body. Your ears adapt to the new conditions and develop their own immune system. You no longer need to go to the doctors for a cleaning. All you gotta do now is wipe the outer part of the headphones. No more worrying about your health 24/7. Woohoo! One night, you're listening to classical music, and suddenly, it turns off. You hear a bizarre, muffled sound. Are those human voices? Or some sort of machine? Or animal? No, definitely voices, but they're too quiet, too mangled up. You can't figure out what they're talking about. In the beginning, it doesn't bother you that much, but the voices start visiting you every night. They speak different languages. The whole thing is just plain creepy. You're scared. Are you going mad? You're afraid to sleep with the lights off. One day, you wake up to the sound of hundreds of different voices. They're screaming, or laughing, or asking you for something. You run out of the bedroom and go to the balcony to get some fresh air. And suddenly, wham! The voices stop, and all you hear is soft jazz. You head out. Pretty soon, you're surrounded by a forest. There's no one around. You notice the volume and sound quality keep changing as you shift your feet. You look up. There's a massive antenna. Whoa, your headphones must be connected to it somehow. You've been listening to the radio this whole time.
If your phone drains from about 15% to only 1% fast, it signals you that the battery is a bit old or even damaged. Sometimes there might be 20% left, but the phone turns off all of a sudden in the middle of an important phone call. All these things show that the battery's not all right, and you might want to change it. If your phone keeps 1% for a long time, it finds that the battery has more capacity left than it estimated. By the way, no modern battery can be fully charged or drained. You can quickly improve battery life. First, you can limit your widget usage. Try not to add too many widgets and limit the use of those that require a lot of data to keep the info up to date. By the way, if there's no explanation why your phone gets drained that fast, Think about cybersecurity. It can probably be evidence of somebody following you and your data. How do I know all this stuff? I'm a phony. Kind of like a foodie, but about phones. Hey, stop laughing. Your phone can get hot for many reasons, including overuse, apps running in the background, malfunctioning software, malware, or if it's been exposed to too much heat or sun. Sometimes this warmth is okay, but it could be because of serious problems if your phone is regularly overheating. If your phone drains to zero every time you leave your house in winter, you need to check the battery health in the settings. Phone batteries, like any rechargeable battery, have special components that get less effective as they age. If the battery health is less than 85%, you might consider changing the battery. Otherwise, your gadget will drain every time it's cold outside. Now, don't forget to charge your old phone sometimes after getting a brand new one if you want to keep the old buddy just in case. Lack of charge may impact battery life. The same goes for game consoles, laptops, tablets, and any other gadget you charge. If you charge your phone and use it simultaneously, you can confuse the battery a little bit. Like this, the phone's going to get a bit of charge, then the app or whatever you do will devour that energy, and the charger will top the battery up again. These short cycles tire the battery and shorten the lifespan. You can also optimize your battery by closing all those apps you open once in a while and forget to close. Some apps are especially hungry for your phone longevity. Most of them are what we'll call famous social media. Still, it works perfectly with Androids only. If you have an iPhone, it makes no difference how many apps are running in the background unless these are social media apps. Battery pigs, I say. Also, no app can help you make your battery drain slower, so those that check storage usage and help clean the phone memory never come in handy. Now, you can do all the things I just mentioned yourself. iPhone users know their phones run out of memory fast, and even if you delete some files, it doesn't help. Go to Settings, iPhone Storage, and make sure that recently deleted photos are actually deleted. If not, delete them in the storage sections. Note that your messages can contain heavy files, so you can restrict how long the message can be stored if you have an iPhone. In the message history, tap the Keep Messages button. It's forever by default, but you can keep them for 1 year or even only 30 days. Don't forget to refresh your phone's operative memory to make it work better and faster. For iPhones, go to Setting, General, Accessibility, Assistive Touch, and turn it on. Press plus, then minus, and then the power button. You'll see the power off bar. Press the Assistive Touch and hold the home button. Voila! If you see the Enter Pass notification after you did it, it means you did it all right. It's much easier with Androids though, since some of them have the Clear Memory button in the RAM section. It would be best if you didn't charge your phone in a car. Cars usually have less electricity than any phone needs to get a full charge. If you use a low-power USB port, your gadget starts swallowing up power at a much faster rate than the port can handle. It can even damage your charger. In the end, your phone will get barely any charge at all. A car is not the best place, but a rental one is a big no. The USB port is basically public there, so think about cybersecurity. To make your charge safer, you can use your own adapter. Don't charge your phone at a train station. Sometimes it's way better to spend a couple of hours on a train looking out a window than charging the phone at a train station before hopping on the train. Juice jacking is a big problem of public charging stations. Your data can be extracted via a USB port. Your house can be dangerous too for charging your phone. Well, it requires particular circumstances, such as lightning. Right, don't charge your phone during a thunderstorm. The voltage goes up and down, so it can be pretty stressful for your gadget. It's not true that your SIM card can track you. The SIM card itself can't be tracked. It's all about the IMEI number any phone has. If your mobile phone is on, it is transmitted to the closest cell tower. A SIM card can't track you, but your iPhone remembers all the places you visited recently. To check it, go to Settings, Privacy, Location Services, System Services. Your phone collected your favorite places in frequent locations. Android devices can do the same. Open Location History in Google Maps. Don't charge your phone in cafes. Juice jacking is an issue there too. Moreover, the USB port capabilities aren't powerful enough, but is completely safe if you use a regular plug and not a USB port. It's not true that 4G eats up more data than 3G. The pages you load are the same, no matter what you use, 3G or 4G. It's like eating a pizza. If one person eats it faster than the second one, it's a question of speed and not the pizza size. The same goes for 5G. Oh, now I'm hungry. Oh, by the way, if you cross a phony like me with a foodie who loves sandwich meats, then you get a phony baloney. No, really. There's something you can do to control the data usage. Turn off the maps that use a lot of data. Turn off automatic files uploading to any of your clouds. Get rid of all the automatic updates. If you want some music or a podcast, download it beforehand. Streaming hoovers up all your data. Your iPhone timer is much more helpful than it seems. If you like falling asleep to your favorite music or another YouTube video, just like I do, go to the clock, tap the timer, and select When the Time Ends section. Scroll down until you see the Stop Playing button. This feature shuts down all the media apps such as music, any windows that play sounds or video, or even the YouTube app. Pretty handy if you ever woke up at 3 a.m. in the middle of some random video that was autoplayed. For iPhones, tap and hold the timer button, the one you see when you swipe up and see a fast access menu. You'll see the time scale you need to slide. The only drawback is that you can set a timer for no less than a minute and not more than 2 hours. The same works with a flashlight. Tap and hold this button to adjust the brightness. You can take pictures without enough memory. If you run out of memory but absolutely need to take a pic, here's a trick. Open any of your apps like Instagram or Facebook and take a photo when you start a new post. Done. The pic will be in your camera roll. Camera roll in iPhones doesn't only store your lovely pug photos. Tap Select in the right upper corner and then tap any picture you need. In the left lower corner, you'll see a square with an arrow. Go for it. Scroll down and see what you can do. Duplicate it, use it as wallpaper, or even hide it from those who like to poke their nose into others' lives. Another way to hide a pic is to cut it to the minimum size. When you need it back, just revert it to the original. That's all today from your phony baloney narrator. Have a good one.
So, time travel is real. Actually, you're traveling through time right now. With every second of this video, you move 1 second into the future. But there's one person on Earth who has managed to time travel a little further into the future, 0.02 of a second. And that's not the limit. Meet Sergei Krikalev. He's an astronaut who spent 803 days, 9 hours, and 39 minutes on the International Space Station. That's the key to his time travel. The point is that for two objects, one standing still and the other moving, time flow is different. That is, if we take our planet as one object and the ISS as the other, time on Earth and on the ISS will go differently. But this is not enough to significantly affect time. We need to look at gravity. The larger the object, the stronger its gravitational force. For example, on the Moon, you can jump higher and lift heavier objects than on Earth because the Moon is light. But on Jupiter, you can barely stand on your feet because it's heavy and its gravity is many times stronger. Gravity bends space-time itself. Imagine a trampoline or a stretched sheet. As long as there's nothing on it, space-time is even and time is the same at all points. But put a heavy object there and you'll see a pit forming in it. Now imagine putting a heavy object like the planet Earth in the center of the sheet. It weighs 6 tons, plus another 21 zeros. It would bend our sheet so much that time would go differently in the center than in a place where space-time is flat. And the heavier the object, the greater the warp, and the slower time will go there. For example, near the Sun, time goes even slower than on our planet because it's more than 300,000 times heavier. Or take a black hole. Even a small one weighs tens or hundreds of times more than the Sun. And supermassive ones are millions and billions of times heavier. They will bend space-time so much that time near them practically stops. So, our hero, Sergei Krikalev, used this very method of time travel. He just wasn't at the very depth of this time-space vortex, but on the ISS. It's at a point in space-time where the curvature of the sheet isn't that strong. and time went a little faster for him than it does here. Just a little bit. And if you spend enough time there, gradually, you start to overtake the people here on Earth in time. Sergei could have gone much farther in time, but another law of physics prevented him from doing so. It's all about the unity of space and time. If you're standing, you're only moving in time. But if you run forward, you move both in time and space. The faster you run through space, the slower you move in time. The International Space Station travels around our planet at 4.7 miles per second. This speed slowed down Sergei's movement through time. So in more than 2 years on the ISS, he only traveled in time by 2/100ths of a second. So here's a way that you can time travel. Seat your friend at a table and give them one watch. Put the other one on your arm and start running around the table. If you run fast and long enough, you'll notice how the time on your watch and your friend's is different. Voila! You have traveled through time. But there are other ways to get to the future. For the first way, you need to get to a black hole. The closest one is just over 1,000 light years away from our solar system. You jump into your faster-than-light spaceship and arrive there. You need to fly as close as possible to its center, to the very edge of the event horizon. Space-time is so warped here that 1 second can be equal to weeks or even months on Earth. So just wait here for a few minutes. Now, turn the hyperdrives back on and fly away. Of course, you have to be careful here. Black holes are so heavy that nothing can escape their gravitational force. Even light, which is the fastest thing in the universe, can't escape a black hole's embrace. But that's no problem for you, and you're already on your home planet. Wow, it's been decades on Earth while you've been away. There are flying cars, robots, and holograms everywhere. Another option is traveling at the speed of light. You and your friend are standing on the starting line at the stadium, and each of you has a stopwatch. Press start, you run at the speed of light around the Earth a few times, and finish. Stop the clock. The time with which you ran your sprint is less than that of your friend who is standing still. But there's a so-called twin paradox that scientists are still racking their brains over. It's all about what to take as a reference point. If the center of the coordinate system is a person standing still, and the other is running at the speed of light, then the runner's clock will lag after the run, because they were moving not only in time, but also in space, remember? But if you take the runner as the reference point, it was the static person who was in motion relative to them. And then the static person's clock would have to be behind. So as a result of the experiment, both guys' clocks, the runner and the static guy, would show the same time. This is the twin paradox. Another way to cheat the laws of physics and stop the flow of time is to get into the plank position. Then time just stops for you. Okay, just kidding. Assuming that traveling back in time is possible, there's a whole bunch of problems and paradoxes. For example, at 12 p.m., you're engaged in building a time machine. At 12:30, you finish building it. And then, at 1 p.m., you enter it for one purpose: to prevent you from building the time machine yourself. Then you go back in time at 12:20, when the time machine is almost finished, and break one of its details so that it can't be built to start with. But if your younger version couldn't build a time machine, then there's no way that you could get to the past either, right? Or what if you did build a time machine and went back in time to your father when he was on a date with your mom? You ruin their date and they break up. In this case, your birth would have been impossible. But if you hadn't been born, you would never have built a time machine and gone back in time to ruin your daddy's date. And then nothing would have interfered with your birth. Wow, things are getting a little too complicated. Okay, there are simpler ways to travel through time. For example, biological ones. I'm talking about freezing. If you freeze your body, you will move through time with the rest of the world, but you'll be asleep the whole time. And when you wake up, you'll be in the future. By the way, animals that hibernate in winter, like bears, are time travelers. They simply skip the hungry winter seasons. But there's one problem with that. When we freeze, the water in our cells and tissues turns to ice, and as a consequence, they feel dehydrated, like in a desert. This can be avoided by using protective chemicals. But the hardest part is the awakening. Our scientists can't safely unfreeze a living organism. So, for now, freezing your body is a one-way ticket. But we have hope that scientists of the future will find a way to avoid damaging cells and tissues. Then, they'll open refrigerators with people and wake up a whole bunch of time travelers. And that's a pretty expensive adventure. Freezing an entire body can cost $200,000 or more. But many people believe that time travel is already real, and some time travelers have been caught in photographs or camera footage. For example, this photo from 1941. There are men in suits and women in elegant hats, and among them, this guy in futuristic glasses and hoodie. Or this video, where you can see a woman in the background, talking on her cell phone. Wow, that was about a century ago, and back then, no one could imagine what a cell phone was. Well, these facts can be easily explained. The man in the photo is wearing glasses that were made back in 1920, and the t-shirt and hoodie also already existed at that time. And the woman talking on the cell phone is actually holding an acousticon in her hand. It's kind of a hearing aid, one of the first of its kind. So we can say one thing for sure: time travel remains just a dream for all people. Except Sergei Krikalev, who was able to trick the laws of physics and be 0.02 of a second ahead of all the people on Earth. The more bars you see on the screen of your gadget, the better the network quality is. In reality, the number of bars only indicates how strong the network is. It has nothing to do with the quality of the connection. For example, you can be right next to a cell tower, and there will be maximum network bars on the display. But if there are many users connected to the same network, the quality of the signal will be poor. Then your calls might drop, and your internet will be slower than usual. Your phone can still be tracked even if you've turned off location services and GPS. It's possible to figure out where your device is by gathering data from its sensors, like the gyroscope or accelerometer. Also, it can be tracked via cell towers and Wi-Fi networks. It's a common misconception that the more megapixels your camera has, the higher quality your pictures will be. In reality, more megapixels only give you the ability to zoom, crop, and print larger posters. If you turn Wi-Fi and Bluetooth off when you aren't using them, you can save battery. Well, if you are using these services actively and then switch them off, it will make a difference. But if your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are idle, they don't affect the speed at which the battery loses its power. If your computer is working more slowly than usual or has process errors, it doesn't necessarily mean your device has caught viruses. There might be too many background operations active at the moment. Your computer may be clearing internet browsers, closing the programs you aren't using, and so on. Higher resolution doesn't always mean a better and brighter display. Resolution is only one of several factors that affect the quality of your smartphone's screen. A lot depends on the type of panel used on your gadget. For example, LCDs might have brighter colors, but OLED devices have better contrasts. It's true that a bigger battery has more power, but how much backup it has depends on how this power is used by the whole system. In other words, a gadget with a smaller battery can actually last longer if its operating system is optimized better. Lots of people are sure no one can track them once they switch on incognito mode when surfing the internet. Indeed, this way, your browser won't save cookies, history, and the information you enter in different forms. But the websites you use, as well as authorities, can easily track you. This means incognito mode doesn't hide you from the world completely. To wipe your computer's hard drive, you'd need a really huge magnet. Hard drives on modern devices can only be affected by extremely focused magnetic fields. Good old fridge magnets are nowhere powerful enough. If you accidentally left your charger plugged in after you finished charging your gadget, there's no need to panic. It's believed that a fire might start in case of a power surge. But it's only true in several situations. For example, if you have pets that are interested in chargers, or if your charger makes weird noises or has leaks, or if the place where you live doesn't have any lightning protection, or if there's a chance your neighbors are having a water leak. In all other cases, you don't have anything to worry about. Many people are sure it's a bad idea to use phones while they're charging. These users believe it may shorten the battery's lifespan. Others think the battery won't charge as well as it could. But this is nothing but a myth. Even when you aren't using your gadget, it's still busy with different activities. For example, synchronizing data. It means you can easily add several more tasks to its workload. Clearing background apps doesn't lead to better performance. It also does nothing to save battery. Your phone's operating system is smart. Once it needs additional resources, it automatically closes background apps. Also, closing applications and opening them again drains your battery much faster than when you leave these apps be. Put the battery in the freezer. It'll last longer. No. Do not do this. This myth comes from the 80s. At that time, people put batteries in the freezer for short periods of time to make them work longer. But these days, such a procedure can actually destroy your gadget's battery. Lithium-ion batteries react badly both to cold and hot temperatures. The most comfortable environment for such a battery is room temperature. Antivirus software doesn't provide your device with 100% protection. You regularly install new security programs, and they seem to effectively remove viruses from your computer. But new kinds of malware appear literally every day, and there's no guarantee your antivirus knows how to deal with them. Power banks can harm neither your phone nor its battery. What can lead to dramatic consequences is using a power bank with a higher voltage than your gadget can handle. That's why professionals recommend picking only high-quality power banks. Experts say you should download apps only from official stores, but it doesn't mean everything you get there is 100% safe. Yes, it's way less risky to use official stores than third-party sites, but there have been cases where even official stores had to remove sketchy apps from their platforms. Airplane mode does help you charge your phone faster, but you might not notice the difference. Experiments have shown that airplane mode only shaves from 4 to 11 minutes off your phone's charging time. A higher amount of RAM doesn't always mean better performance, but it's true that a device with more RAM can have more apps open in the background if you compare it with a gadget with less RAM. You can also access the most important and often used info faster because it's kept in RAM. You won't damage your phone's battery if you leave it to charge overnight. Your gadget will be plugged in long after its battery is full, it's true, but it isn't something to worry about. Experts have different opinions on the matter. Some of them claim that overnight charging may cause the smartphone's battery to age faster. Others say it doesn't have any visible effect on the battery. Mac computers can also be affected by malware. It's true that they aren't as vulnerable to viruses as other computers, but in some cases, their built-in security features aren't enough to save you from all kinds of risks. No study has ever proved that cell phones emit radiation that's bad for your body. The radiation we're talking about is the radio frequency one. It's much weaker than the ionizing radiation, a dose of which you get every time you have an X-ray. Third-party task managers do not prolong battery life or boost your phone's performance. The built-in system on your phone is already doing everything possible to make your gadget work as effectively as possible. As for the third-party managers, they can indeed control the apps you use, but they don't have any positive effect on the battery life. Emptying your trash or recycle bin on your computer doesn't mean you delete the files you don't need permanently. You only erase the links to the files, but tiny pieces of data remain. There's a chance someone will connect these chunks of information. Then, they'll be able to recover some files you thought didn't exist anymore. It's still a popular belief that you need to charge a newly bought phone to full before you use it for the first time. But phone batteries work best when they're charged up to 40 to 80%. And that's about as much charge as a smartphone you get from a store has. This means you can buy a phone and start using it right away. But if a new phone's battery indicator shows less than a 40% charge, you should probably take it back to the store. Such a low percentage might mean the battery is old. The belief that the larger a video or audio file is, the better quality it has, isn't always true. The size of a file depends not only on its quality, but also on the way it was compressed. Some people think they can train their battery so that it can stay charged longer. To do so, they wait until the battery drains completely before they charge it again. The idea is that their batteries have memory, and if you don't make it a habit to charge them when the indicator is almost 0%, they won't work as well as they used to. But the truth is, lithium-ion batteries last the longest when they're half full. Plus, if you discharge such a battery completely for a long time, you can permanently damage it. On October 30th, 1759, the inhabitants of the Middle East were jolted awake by an earthquake. Cracks appeared in the walls of their homes, roofs began to crumble. People ran out of their homes and gathered in open areas. But because of strong shocks, they kept losing their footing and falling. A month later, there was another earthquake, but it turned out to be even stronger. Trees broke, houses collapsed, deep cracks appeared in the ground. The disaster lasted for 2 minutes. Oases, roads, and cities were destroyed. Incredibly, Baalbek's ancient buildings withstood earthquakes. Some historians state that this majestic and mysterious place was built during the Roman Empire, but many researchers disagree. Whatever the truth is, the city is one of the main archaeological phenomena of humankind. The most amazing building of Baalbek is the Temple of Jupiter. The inhabitants of the Roman Empire believed that Jupiter held power over lightning and thunder. The building looked like a platform with 54 columns. A massive roof rested on these columns. Today, you can only see 6 70-foot-high columns. Each of them consists of 3 sections and resembles a pencil. The cores of these pencils were made of lead. This made the columns exceptionally strong. Each of these pieces of stone weighed an incredible 80 tons. That's the weight of 35 Ford Explorer SUVs. Look, this is the largest block in the Great Pyramid of Giza. But compared to the blocks from Baalbek, it doesn't even look that impressive. The foundation under the Temple of Jupiter was preserved. That's how specialists figured out it consisted of about 25 monolithic stones, weighing 450 tons each. It means that the blocks from Baalbek weigh almost 4 times more than the blocks from Egypt. There are 3 more enormous limestone blocks in the foundation. They weigh 800 tons each. This is more than twice the weight of a Boeing 747 plane. Ancient builders must have had a hard time carving such giants from a piece of stone. And after that, they also had to pull them to the construction site and lift them to a significant height. Repeating these logistics would probably turn out to be a nightmare for present-day builders. To do this amount of work, they would need modern equipment. But Baalbek's constructors didn't have trucks, cranes with circular saws, or electricity. How did the builders of the past manage to do this? Scientists have a theory that includes ropes, winches, and lever systems. Naturally, the engineers of the past made all the gadgets from wood. Around 3,000 feet away from the ruins of the temple complex, there's a quarry. Archaeologists suppose that's where the stones for the construction were cut. They found a block of limestone there. It seemed to be too large, even for this incredible place. The monolith got called the Stone of the South. It was 65 feet long and 13 feet wide. The ancient builders didn't have time to completely separate it from its mother rock. A group of scientists from Austria estimated that this piece of limestone weighed more than 1,000 tons. That's like 3 Boeing aircraft or 160 African elephants. There was another surprise awaiting the archaeologists near the Stone of the South. It was the second monolith that weighed more than 1,200 tons. But the ancient builders didn't stop at that. They continued to work. In 2014, in the same quarry, German archaeologists unearthed a block that weighed 1,650 tons. No one has figured out yet why people of the past needed a piece of stone that weighed as much as 125 school buses. It's also unclear how they were going to move this giant and why they didn't finish the job. In any case, this third monolith is the largest processed piece of stone in human history. There are more questions than answers. Some researchers believe that people of the past had high-tech equipment. Others don't think so, but are eager to understand how the builders managed to move those stones. There's a huge number of ancient buildings and artifacts on the planet. Lots of them make researchers scratch their heads. Near the Pyramid of Djoser in Egypt, archaeologists have found a network of tunnels. This place is called Serapeum. It contains 24 sarcophagi, weighing from 70 to 100 tons. The giant boxes are carved from a single piece of granite and covered with heavy lids. The sarcophagi are perfectly symmetrical. To the touch, their walls are as smooth as glass. Even with the current level of technology, this is very difficult to do. But the ancient Egyptians managed this feat. The Lycurgus cup is a priceless artifact and example of ancient nanotechnology. It's made of glass that can change its color. If you put a source of light in front of the cup, it turns green. If the light is behind the goblet, it becomes deep red. In this case, the figure of Greek king Lycurgus turns pale purple. Scientists understood how this color change worked only at the end of the 20th century. Through microscopes, they saw nanoparticles of silver, gold, and copper. They had been added to the glass matrix. Thanks to this, you can observe a color change called dichroism. Interestingly, the gold and silver were grounded into a fine dust. It's almost impossible to do this by accident. Most likely, the ancient experts knew for sure what they were doing. Bolivia has a curious place called Puma Punku. It looks as if an ancient giant played there with an enormous construction set. And after the game, they forgot to put the pieces back into the box. But there are no giants, and the huge stone blocks were carved by ancient builders over 1,500 years ago. Some of the rocks weigh 100 tons. The blocks were brought to an altitude of almost 13,000 feet above sea level from the quarry 60 miles away from the construction site. There's no forest in that area. This means the builders couldn't use trees to make wooden rollers. The monument belongs to the Inca civilization. Scientists are sure they didn't know anything about wheels. In 1992, the inhabitants of a Chinese village decided to drain a pond. Their ancestors had been using it to wash clothes and catch fish for hundreds of years. They kept pumping the water out for 17 days. At the bottom of the reservoir, they made an unexpected discovery. The villagers saw an entrance to a cave going down to a depth of 100 feet. The incredible find was named the Longyu Caves. Unknown builders carved out 320,000 square feet of galleries. There are separate rooms, bridges, pools, and columns that support the ceiling. The walls of the cave are covered with strange carved lines and patterns. Scientists haven't found any information about who built the caves and why they did it. The construction technology also remains a mystery. Antonio Stradivari lived in Italy in the 18th century. He created musical instruments. More than 600 of his works have survived to this day. 500 of them are violins. One of the instruments was sold at auction for $16 million. The violins made by this master sound clear and deep. Researchers can't understand why Stradivarius instruments produce such unique sounds. Perhaps it's all about the varnish the master used to cover the violins. The answer may also lie in the wood the instruments are made of. In those days, Europe had a cold climate. Because of this, the wood became denser, and the instruments made of it sounded especially pleasing to the ear. In the Indian city of Delhi, there's a 23-foot-high pole. It weighs 6.5 tons and is made of 98% wrought iron. The 1,600-year-old pillar has no signs of rust or decay. Scientists believe that the monument is so well preserved thanks to the dry weather and the chemical composition of the metal. It might be resistant to corrosion. And still, researchers don't know how the blacksmiths managed to make an iron pillar that's not afraid of rust. It seems like a tough feat, even for modern metallurgists. The Al-Nasla rock is divided into two parts by a perfectly straight slit. Each boulder stands on a small pedestal. Some people believe this is the evidence of ancient laser technology. But geologists think the split happened due to the ground shifting or natural vibrations that occurred under the rock. This process led to the appearance of the crack. It had been deepening for thousands of years, and gradually, the natural monument took the form you can see today.
Now, as of today, there are around 400 million monthly active users hanging out inside virtual worlds. Doesn't feel all that crowded, but hey, I live on the other side of your screen. So, the sci-fi future we've been waiting for is already here. But technology is not all about fun and games. It's also here to make our lives easier. And these inventions are proof of that. So, buckle up as I teleport you to the near future and show you what one day will look like. You get out of your bed and head to the kitchen for breakfast, or to your smart fridge to be more precise. The world's biggest tech and appliance companies have been working on developing fridges with some mind-blowing features for quite some time now. These can scan the contents stored inside of them, keeping track of what items you're running low on. Their built-in touchscreens will display lots of information for you, from your daily schedule to a slideshow of family photos. Just like any other wireless device you have, you'll be able to connect them to your home's Wi-Fi. Once they are connected to the internet, they can interact with other connected devices in your home. So, you'll even be able to move the show that you were watching in the living room to the touchscreen of your smart fridge and not miss that big twist. This screen will also let you know when and what items you need to reorder, as well as recommend recipes based on the ingredients you already have inside the fridge. The system behind these new and improved fridges will rely on the barcode or the radio frequency identification tags your food packaging will have. These are actually already being used by food manufacturers to manage stock and shipping. By scanning the tags or the barcodes, your fridge can access details such as expiration dates to keep an accurate inventory of your food. And just in case you're wondering how much having a fridge that sends you a shopping list will cost you, it'll range somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000. Your smart fridge warns that the coffee cream is expired. Oops, guess it's time to head to the store. Now, don't worry about searching for your wallet though. You will need neither cash nor a credit card to buy stuff. This will be possible all thanks to the tiny microchips which can be implanted into your hand. Don't get too excited though, one chip won't turn you into a cool cyborg or anything. This chip technology actually already exists in digital house keys, e-tickets, and bank cards. What will make them different now is that once the implantation process is complete, they will get linked to all of your online accounts. This will allow you to open your front door, hop onto the public bus or train, and buy groceries all with a flick of a wrist. You come home and finally have your morning coffee, with cream. Now it's time to actually make yourself something to eat. Such a bore. Or maybe not, thanks to your cyber chef. In 2015, a robotics company shook the culinary world when they presented their new invention, a robot that uses giant hands to cook meals. This master chef comes pre-programmed with thousands of recipes from world-class human chefs, so you won't need to Google how to make the perfect pie crust anymore. The robot that's named Molly will do everything from pour to stir, but unfortunately, it can't prepare ingredients for the recipes it's going to make. At least, not yet. Maybe I've seen too many movies, but it's probably not such a great idea to give a robot a knife anyway, right? However, if you prepare the ingredients yourself and put them inside special containers, it will recognize the ones it's supposed to use. Once it's done preparing food, it will clean up surfaces too. Finally, your own busboy. Molly can plan and adapt its recipes according to your diet preferences and calorie intake limits. However, you can also add your own recipes to its list through the touchscreen, and it can recreate your grandma's casserole with 100% accuracy for you. But you know what? I bet you can hire a personal chef for yourself, and the amount you will pay to get Molly, which is $340,000. And the best part is, they can even prepare the ingredients for you. Now, as the clock strikes noon, you'll receive a text message from your mom. She reminds you about her visit, which will be in an hour. You totally forgot about that. Well, you take a look around your house and realize that you haven't been doing any cleaning for quite some time. But she can't see it like this. This is where super suits might come in handy. The Guardian Exo is a rechargeable, battery-powered, and mechanical full-body exoskeleton that's designed to make you faster and stronger. Using its electrical motors and a state-of-the-art set of 100 ultra-precise body sensors, it combines human intelligence, instinct, and judgment with the endurance and precision of machines. It can increase your strength and allow you to lift up to 200 pounds of weight like you're lifting a feather, and it won't restrict your movement at all. So you can clean under your sofa, bed, or that smart refrigerator pretty easily and quickly before your mom arrives. Talk about productivity. But don't get your hopes up too much. It doesn't have the technology to allow you to stop buses like Superman or jump over buildings like Neo. So it's not really suited to saving the world. But it sure can be a lifesaver if you're moving into a new house. What's great about it is that you can actually get your hands on it now. That is, if you have $100,000 per year to pay its rent. Wow, you finished cleaning so fast that you still got some time left before mommy comes home. Might as well go for a quick run. But thanks to your suit, you didn't burn that many calories while cleaning. So grab your futuristic sci-fi sneakers and let's head out. This creature-like footwear called the Cryptide Sneaker is a fully 3D printed shoe. It's made out of only one material, which is a special polymer called thermoplastic elastomer. This material varies in thickness or thinness in different places, meaning while specific parts of the sneaker become stiffer, the others will remain soft and flexible. So it is ergonomic and comfortable, in addition to being easy and fast to manufacture. The whole shoe can be printed out in one go, and it doesn't require any gluing or stitching. And the best part is, its shape can be adapted to your own foot. The only thing needed for that is your foot's 3D scan. Well, you head back home just in time to greet your mom. She wants the two of you to spend a nice, quiet afternoon together, reading or watching something. You think that's a great idea, and you show your new favorite book to her. She goes through the pages, but you notice she's having a hard time reading the words, squinting her eyes. If only I could zoom into the book pages like I can do with your Instagram photos, she says. Hey, you have just the thing she needs. In 2019, a team of researchers created a pair of contact lenses that zoom in when you blink twice. Each eye movement you make gives distinct electrical signals. The zoom-in contact lenses contain electrodes that can track these signals and respond accordingly. The polymers that they're made of expand when a certain electrical current is applied. So, when you blink twice, the lenses increase their magnification and make everything appear 32% larger for you. However, it looks like you'll have to wait a bit longer to start wearing them. The researchers are still trying to figure out how to make them out of the material regular contacts are made of, so they'll be safer for everyday use. Now, aside from the zoom-in only lenses though, other researchers have been working on creating what they call smart lenses as well. These will have nearly invisible micro-LED displays smaller than a grain of sand, tiny navigation sensors, image sensors, and almost microscopic batteries. They'll help guide you through new cities, give you information about the buildings and the people. Wow, traveling made easy. Aren't you glad you have that trust fund to pay for all this? Wait, no trust fund? Well, you can still have Instagram.
There's a pretty cool innovation coming in the world of headphones in 2022. Ta-da! The invisible headphone. Yep, you heard it right. This gadget transmits ultrasound silently through the air. You'll feel like you're wearing a pair of real headphones because while transferring ultrasound, they converge it into audible pockets just outside of your ears. If there are people around you in the same room, they'll only be able to hear something like a whisper of sound. If you're the one wearing the invisible headphones, you'll immerse in three-dimensional spatial audio that gets reduced up to 90% only 3 feet away from you. If you turn your head or move, it'll activate motion sensors in charge of facial recognition. They track your ears to make sure the sound gets to the right spot. When they first appeared, headphones actually had a single earpiece only. In the 1880s, telephone operators used some sort of simplified version of what we know as headphones today. They had to connect it together to a contraption with a mouthpiece that allowed transmission. That contraption itself weighed from 6 to 11 pounds, and an operator would hold it on their shoulder. Inventors never really intended for headphones to be portable, or at least not from the start. In the 1970s, people mostly used headphones to listen to records at home. The big change in headphone history happened only when Sony released the Walkman. People wanted portable headphones to listen to their favorite song even outside of their homes. If you noticed one earbud gets discharged faster than the other, know that you're not the only one dealing with this. It happens because the signal won't be equally strong in both of your earbuds. For instance, if the difference goes up to 15 to 20% after you used both of them for the same amount of time, yeah, something can be wrong. But if the difference is 5%, that's normal because the system rounds out battery data from each of your earbuds. So it depends on where exactly you hold your phone. It could be closer to the left or the right earbud, or how conductive one side of your head is. In a way, it blocks less signal. And generally, your earbuds have individual connections, so each will use energy on a slightly different level. If you use airplane mode while playing mobile games, you won't get ads popping up all the time in the middle of the game. Smart idea! When you turn off the sound on your smartphone, your battery will last longer. The vibration will also waste energy. You'll be able to charge your phone quicker if you use an outlet rather than a USB cable. Sure, it's great if you're in a car or somewhere outside with your laptop available, but you'll definitely have to wait longer. Enter #31# and your phone number if you want to hide it. That way, when you're calling a friend, they won't be able to see who's calling. This way, you'll be able to hide your number only during the current call. When you want to hand your phone to a friend, but at the same time keep all of your messages and the rest of your personal data confidential, go with guest mode. Use 2 fingers to swipe down from the top and go to the user icon on the upper right. You'll see the Add Guest icon. Now you can choose which actions you'll allow performing to your friend or anyone who has your smartphone. Smartphones are so versatile, they'll slowly replace many things at your home. You can even use your phone instead of a TV remote. There are apps that allow you to connect the TV through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Do you ever have to read articles on Wikipedia on a really complicated topic, like how your phone or some other gadgets function? You can translate them into regular human language by choosing the Simple English version. This will get you to an article that's much easier to read and understand. Your smartphone can see infrared light, so if you're about to shoot an infrared beam directly into your phone's camera, there will be a purple beam on your display. This happens because most sensors on digital cameras can sense light frequencies our eyes aren't able to pick up. Wireless chargers are convenient to carry around. Plus, admit it, they look cool. But if your battery is low and you need your phone charged as soon as possible, they aren't as effective and fast as conventional ones. If you have some spare batteries at home, you can use the negative side of the battery as a stylus for your smartphone, be it iPhone or Android. Yep, try scrolling through the apps, navigating through the homepage, drawing in notes. A battery stylus can do pretty much anything that its regular version is capable of. You can also take a pencil and grab some foil lying around. Tear up a small piece of foil to wrap it around the eraser at the top of your pencil. And here it is, you have a new stylus once again. It can be useful when it's really cold outside and you're wearing gloves and can't control your phone without a stylus. The iPad came to the market years after the iPhone had already set the world on fire. But the tablet was the original project the company was working on before the idea of applying such a system to a phone. When you want to edit your home screen, you'll probably grab an app icon and move it wherever you want, right? Then you'll grab another app and move it over, and another one, and so on. It's way more effective to just grab an app and then tap on the rest of the apps you want to move. Then you move it, place it where you want it to be, and everything's done. Even Face ID can't guarantee no one will unlock your phone without your permission. There may be a situation when someone takes away your phone and tries to unlock your Face ID by using your face. If that happens, just say, "Hey Siri, whose phone is this?" Your phone is going to immediately freeze up, so a person holding it will have to use the password to unlock it. If you'd like your iPhone to be a bit louder, go to Settings, then Music. Under EQ, you'll see the option called Late Night. This will make loud sounds quiet, and at the same time, amplify quiet sounds so your phone will have much better sound. If you have AirPods and you lost one, you can track it down with Apple's Find My app. First, you need to make sure your AirPods are linked to your Apple ID. You need to set up the Find My app on your iPhone, and then you'll be able to check the last location of your beloved AirPods on a map. If you lose just one, you can prompt it to play a sound. That way, you can easily find it, at least as long as it's connected to your Bluetooth and is close to some other Apple devices of yours. Simply launch the Find My app, go to the Devices tab, and press the Play Sound option. To save battery life, keep just one bud in and swap them from time to time. If you're using AirPods a lot and your battery often runs low, you'll be able to charge one of them while you're using another. You can use your iPhone to check the status of the battery for both your AirPods and their charging case. The first way is to open the charging case next to your iPhone. It will prompt the phone to display a pop-up where you'll see the remaining battery. Another way is to add the battery widget to the Notification Center's Today panel. This widget will include AirPods only when you're actively using them, or you can check the remaining battery on your Apple Watch. Place your open charging case next to the watch. Now, open Control Center and choose the battery option. You'll see battery stats for your watch, AirPods, and the case. Siri can actually read some of your latest messages for you. It can do it through your AirPods. You can also use a quick voice command to reply to your messages. You don't have to do anything particular to set up such a feature. But if you want to turn it off, go to Settings, click on Siri and Search, and then on Announce Messages. Besides messages, Siri can also announce notifications through your AirPods.
Now here's a tip. Next time your camera flickers to something weird, go check the device itself before creating a ticket for tech support. Otherwise, you may end up like this Redditor did. The ticket said that the camera flickered to a fuzzy brown image often, but it was just a bird that chose the camera as a place to chill. Another Redditor shared an image of something that even the mightiest tech support won't fix. Yup, seems like someone didn't change the toner the right way, and the whole room got completely covered by ink. I guess it's easier to burn down the whole place than to clean it. Now, you may think this is some kind of a spaghetti disaster, but it's not. It's just a hospital server room. Many users say it's a common thing for hospitals, so why take it down if it works just fine? It's not that complicated to set up wireless speakers, right? Then I don't really understand how this could have happened. I have two options. It was either their first day doing this work, or they wanted to play music for Australia. Now, candles are cool for romantic dinners and stuff, but it turns out they might be pretty dangerous at work. A Redditor shared a pic of how a candle can turn the working place into a disaster instead of cozying it up. Okay, this one's not that bad, but it looks kinda gross. First off, you gotta clean your screen every now and then. Plus, make sure your screen you have is actually a touchscreen. Faster doesn't necessarily mean better. A Redditor shared a photo of how their coworker was eager to unpack a new mouse. Sorry, no tech support can fix it. Guess they'll have to grab a new mouse and be more patient unpacking it. One more mouse disaster here. This user shared a story of how their friend wanted to make the mouse lighter, so they drilled a bunch of holes and sanded the whole thing down. This looks like a bit of cheese, though. Huh? Logic found. Mouse, cheese, you know. This Redditor shared a photo of how their grandpa thought a jack was a screw hole, and he actually did insert a screw there. So, many questions, but no answers. Now, you might say, hey, but their grandpa is from the older generation. But I guess the younger generation would wonder what a jack is, too. I mean, Bluetooth headphones have completely replaced good old wired ones. Hey, there's a slight burning smell. Look here. It seems that something's a bit wrong with the battery. I guess this is exactly what the customer said when they asked for some support with their laptop. Hey, I don't really think it's a big deal. Tech support will just need to replace the battery. Plus, no need to do the double work, as the battery section is already open. In case it doesn't work, probably reinstalling Windows will do the trick. A computer mouse can get quite gross over time with all the buildup, like we all eat cookies and touch the mouse with greasy Cheetos hands. Please just don't clean it as this Redditor did. At first, their idea may seem brilliant. Why not use lemonade to clean it? Like any lemonade has acidity and it may help dissolve the buildup. Yeah, it may have the needed acidity, but it also contains a lot of sugar. Guess who loves sugar? Ants. So by cleaning your mouse like this, you'll surely turn it into an ant trap. Could work in case you want to get rid of them, but for cleaning the mouse, you'd rather use some professional detergents. Another fun ticket from tech support: someone wanted to get a new adapter as their MacBook wouldn't charge. Thing is, loose staples are irresistible to a MagSafe port. Yeah, I know what you want to say, MacBooks don't have MagSafe ports anymore. But these things have aged well, so yeah, if you still own one and it won't charge, just double-check the port. There might be some foreign metal object, or maybe a mouse. Hey, made you look. Hey, why is the back cover not going on? I guess it's some small issue with the battery. If there was a competition between the craziest chargers ever, we'd have the winner right now. This unprecedented iPhone charger looks like someone followed the craziest TikTok life hacks and designed their own makeshift charger. I wonder how many volts there are. Remember, it's really important to follow the volts recommendations the manufacturer gives. Like, if it says you gotta have a 5-volt charger, use it. If you use a 100-volt charger instead, it won't charge your device 20 times faster, it'll just ruin the battery. Now some failures are just hilarious. Look at this photo. Someone installed the carbon monoxide detector right inside the wall. Was it the person was so strong to manage to insert it this way? Or was it a softish wall that let them do that? We're not likely to have an answer to this question. Now, cats are cats. They don't care how expensive your laptop is. If they want to play, they will. Yeah, this screen looks sort of ruined now, but there must be a way to polish it somehow. I have no explanation for this photo. It looks like their tech support had so much stuff to do with all those wires that the team required a toilet to make the most of their working time. Hey, there's another room of that kind. That's actually a secondary server room, but it's also used as toilet paper storage. These two rooms are meant for each other. Hey, remember to wipe those discs. A Redditor shared a story that happened to them at work. A client came to check what was wrong with their PC. They said, "I don't know what happened, but the PC won't turn on." The tech support was left pretty shocked. I mean, that client must have noticed the loud explosion sound and smoke floating around the office. Alright, this one is just a kind reminder to clean your PC from time to time. And you better do that professionally and ask specialists to help you. This is especially valid for pet owners. Look here, there seems to be a whole dog here. I mean, there's that much of dog hair. This PC was on the brink of passing away. Now look at this one. Client: "Hey, my receipts printer doesn't work. Any idea why that is?" Tech support was left speechless. Look how rusty this is. But on the bright side, it's worked like this for years. This is what I call quality. Now, even the simplest things may be done in the wrong way. A Redditor showed a fun pic of an epic AC fail. Someone installed it not inside but outside the house. I only have one idea. This person just probably wanted to change the weather and make the summer hot days a bit fresher too. It's too much work for a simple AC though. There are many cool things we use today, like hand dryers. They save paper, plus they're fast and very convenient. What can go wrong, you might ask? Well, this Redditor showed what can go wrong. The only explanation I have is that this is not intended for people, but for the table. Just kidding. I really don't have any solid explanation for why the hand dryer is placed in such a weird way. One more fantastic example of how even the simplest things may be failed with a loud bang. Like here, instead of hiding the wires, they decided to drill a hole into a stone wall and place it like this. Well, that's neat. The last, but not the least. Thermal plate is cool and helps a lot, but don't overdo it. Otherwise, it will end up looking like that. How much thermal paste do you want? Yes, much. So, if you were to write a sci-fi novel, would you depict robots as enemies of humanity or friends? Or is it even possible to befriend robots? Well, ask Will Robinson. Meanwhile, I'm here to answer all your questions surrounding what our relationship with them will look like in the future. Let's take it all the way back from the importance that having friends plays in our lives and why, as human beings, we definitely need friendship. As of today, it's been proven again and again that romantic relationships improve our health and even help us live longer. And despite the fact that historically they've been treated as less valuable than romantic and family relationships, now we know the same goes for friendships. Part of this is actually due to the overlaps between mental and physical health. That is, if you're being socially active, it's most likely you're being physically active as well. But it also has a lot to do with the brain. For instance, several studies that have used functional magnetic resonance imaging to study patterns of brain activity show that interaction with friends leads to heightened activity in the striatum, which is a region involved in reward. And in one study, researchers found that when participants were given the opportunity to share money with a friend or a disliked, neutral, or unfamiliar person, reward regions were most active when they chose their friend. So it's no wonder individuals with a strong sense of connection to their friends tend to have longer and healthier lives. It's as if they're always being rewarded. But to be more specific about what health benefits valuable friendships provide, well, first of all, they put you at a lower risk for hypertension. In addition, they help you sleep better, as well as heal faster. And the more friends you have, the better. Having a wider variety of social relationships may even enhance your ability to ward off a cold. However, when you have to spend time alone and not by choice, your white blood cells change their behavior, which leads to more inflammation and a weakened immune response. On top of all this, friends not only help your physical health, but your mental health as well. According to one research, there's a link between the time you spend with friends and whether the brain later processes rejection as threatening. Those who had spent more time with friends show less sensitivity to social exclusion. Now, where do robots enter the picture? Well, in the future, we may not be restricted to only being friends with living and breathing human beings, or pets even. To be able to explore the idea of human-robot friendship, we must understand the very basics of robotics. Most of you may be familiar with the concept of robots, but it's actually important to define them as a separate entity from other types of machines. You see, unlike other machines, robots interact with the world. Based on their actions, they're able to adapt and make changes to their surroundings as well as respond to the world around them. They can independently sense, reason, plan, and take action. As well as performing tasks autonomously, they can also extend human capabilities and mimic human actions. The field of robotics traditionally centers on creating robots to perform simple or repetitive tasks, as well as tasks with hazardous conditions for humans. Yet, thanks to the development in machine learning and artificial intelligence, there is a measurable increase in human-to-robot interactions. There are some reports which suggest that the number of robots around the world could reach 20 million by 2030. And that can only mean we'll be exposed to more and more robots in our everyday lives. Therefore, all of us will have to interact with them one way or another. Yet again, does all of this really mean we'll be able to bond true friendships with them? And if so, will our robot friends improve our physical and mental health in every way like our human friends do? Or are robots even capable of being friends? As of today, there are quite a few robots that can perform intelligent tasks, such as adjusting how they respond to individuals and organizing themselves without direct human input. Some examples of that include prosthetic arms that can learn from the person who is wearing them and adapt to their needs along the way. Then there are physical therapy robots that coach patients to learn a task by assessing their individual needs and offering them just the right amount of help. There are also what researchers call swarm robots, also known as a large group of robots. After getting a single command, they are able to collaborate with each other and organize on their own to fulfill the task at hand. This makes them perfect for dangerous tasks such as exploring a collapsed building. Instead of a human having to give commands to each individual robot, you send in the team and they coordinate the whole mission themselves. Talk about autonomy and cognition. So, since robots are able to do all that, it's obvious they can make good friends, right? Well, friendship is not all about benefiting from each other. Take Aristotle, for example. He says that true friendship is premised on mutual goodwill, admiration, and shared values. Accordingly, friendship is about a partnership of equals. So, can we achieve that with robots? Because so far, the relationship we have with robots is what Aristotle would call an inferior one. Yet again, even in this state of benefiting from robots, we relate to a robot just like we relate to pets, possessions, and people. Many folks these days always thank ChatGPT for helping them out with stuff. Some people who work on robot ethics believe that what they do, that is, bonding with a robot, is just a waste of emotional energy. That is because these entities can only simulate emotions, and this will always be less rewarding than forming human-to-human bonds. Well, I've already named my robot vacuum cleaner. Sorry, not sorry. And I know I'm not the only one. According to an engineer who worked at a vacuum cleaner robot company, when customers were offered brand new robots to replace their broken ones, they would decline the offer, saying, "No, I want my robot." They didn't want to replace the robot because they'd grown attached to it. The thing is, according to the psychological evidence we have so far, what I and many other people do couldn't be any more normal. Because according to it, as human beings, it is in our nature to extend emotional connections to things that are very different from us. That is, even when we know they are manufactured and pre-programmed. But the question is, do those connections constitute a friendship comparable to those shared by humans? If we try to answer this question based on Aristotle's idea on friendship, the answer would be no. Then again, the ones that can be considered equal are all destined to evolve over time. So instead, let's look at it this way. Robots can be good companions which can address our urge to feel a social connection. They can provide physical comfort, emotional support, and enjoyable social exchanges. They won't reject or judge you. One might argue that they also won't understand or empathize with you. But the thing is, they don't really need to. Most people talk to their pets, even though these animals don't understand the words. But they still help you feel less lonely at the end of the day, and robots can do exactly that. There are potential risks with human-to-robot friendships, however. If robots can become our friends, they can very well become our enemies too. But not in the way that sci-fi movies depict. Robot friends can turn into a problem if people start neglecting their relationships with other people to spend more time with the machine. And that is exactly already happening with video games and social media. Yet again, we can all agree that robots aren't the ones to blame for it.
Hey there, Brightsiders. My name
is Tom, and today I have a question for you. Did you know that in the foreseeable future, pet robots will be present in every other household? They're just like regular dogs, except, well,
robotic. And they'll even get along with
real pooches too. If you're wondering if nowadays there are robots that were inspired by animals, I've got you covered. Cockroaches. Love them or not, they're here to stay. Look at those legs and hard shell they've got. They give me the creeps. But they've been around for 400 million years, so I guess they're not going anywhere.
They're also incredibly fast. Well, for insects.
It will take them about an hour to run 3 miles, and that's pretty impressive for an animal of that size. Not only that, but put them underwater and they'll hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. Got a tiny hole? They'll fit in there because of their malleable body and apparently at the speed of light too. Woo! There they go. Their adaptation power is so strong that you can press them with 900 times their body weight, and there won't even be a scratch on their shells. Ask anyone. These things are hard to get rid of. It's no wonder scientists would want to make a robot similar to a cockroach. They sound almost invincible. Researchers at UC Berkeley did exactly that. They created CRAM, which stands for Compressible Robot with Articulated Mechanisms. It's a robot the size of your palm, designed to do the same incredible things cockroaches do. It has jointed plastic shell so it can squeeze into places too. Its main purpose is search and rescue missions. Off you go, you little robotic roach. Still on tiny animals. NASA has taken inspiration from a worm. They might be at the bottom of the food chain, but not their robotic twins. It's meant to explore the frozen places humans can't go to, specifically in Antarctica or Mount Elbrus. I feel cold just thinking about it. It doesn't move exactly like a worm though. It has 2 screws attached to both its ends, and it screws itself to the wall every time it wants to move. But here's what makes it special. Every time it's screwed to a wall, it collects data. NASA believes it can be further improved for space exploration. I guess it wouldn't be an ice worm anymore, it'd be more like a space worm? And also the first worm to ever go to space. Don't forget your space helmet. Going down in caves, we find bats. Looking like vampires after they've shapeshifted, sleeping upside down, hanging from literal rocks. Look at those gorgeous black wings. Mysterious, yet fascinating. I present to you the Batbot. No, not the Batmobile, the Batbot. It's a robotic bat. It doesn't weigh very much, and it's not very big, but it sure is impressive. Its wings replicate the elasticity of regular bat wings. The team developing this robot had to create a custom silicone membrane just for this. These bat robots are very energy efficient too, which probably means that they can fly for a long time. Sort of like the sustainable flight real bats have. Let's take to the oceans now, and this robot you're looking at is a fish. And guess what? It lives next to the real fish as well. It's called SoFi, and it's very similar looking to a fish. It's made half out of silicone and rubber and half out of electronics. The front is 3D printed, and it's where all the electronics are. The best part of its construction is that it can bump against anything and not be damaged or hurt any marine life forms. Still, it's probably not a good thing if it goes around just headbutting other fish. That seems quite rude. Okay, here's something interesting. The way to control this robot is with a Super Nintendo controller. So if you're into video games like me, you'd love this. And if you're wondering how it doesn't just sink to the bottom of the ocean, that's because it has a buoyancy control unit aboard. This allows whoever's controlling it to decide whether it rises or sinks. Oh, and to top it all off and complete the look, SoFi robot has a fisheye lens at its front. Cheetahs run very fast at about 65 to 70 miles per hour. Look at it go! It's the fastest animal on Earth. Put it against a really fast car, and it might even reach 0 to 60 miles per hour faster. 3, 2, 1, go! Yep, that's fast alright. Still, one thing we still haven't seen cheetahs do is a backflip. This robot has us covered. Here's the Cheetah 3. It is supposedly indestructible, and it does backflips too. It was mostly built so scientists could experiment crazy things on it, and it does look like a cheetah, so the name is appropriate. It doesn't run as fast though, 10 miles per hour to be exact. Okay, so it can't race cars, but it can backflip, so 1 point to the regular cheetah and 1 point to the robotic one. I guess they're even. This next one is inspired by snakes. Yes, those slimy, hissy fellas. It's called the Snake Robot, and again, its purpose is search and rescue missions. It moves like a snake, and it climbs trees just like a snake would, by wrapping itself around them. It's already been used to search collapsed buildings after strong earthquakes. Since it's small and can move in any direction, it's perfect to fit into tight spots. Instead of two googly eyes, this robot has one camera in the front, so whoever's controlling it can look at its surroundings. If you're into spiders, but are still kind of afraid of them, like me, there's a solution. The Robugtix T8X. It's more of a toy than anything else. You can control it and program it to do whatever you feel like. Move it around and make it dance with its tiny little legs. There's two versions of it, a hairy one and a smooth one. The hairy one probably resembles a tarantula. My name is Tom. Thank you for watching, and remember, let's become smarter every day together with Brightside. Bye.
Not only super cute, but super useful. Boston Dynamics builds doggy robots that are supposed to assist humans in the labor force in certain industries. The doggy bots are now undergoing testing in a pumped storage plant in Western Austria. They'll use them as inspection dogs that can sniff out potential trouble. No, not literally sniff, but use their high-end cameras that can detect any leaks with thermal vision. These robots perform perfectly in a controlled environment back at the workshop. How well they manage to work on their own will define the future of robots in the labor force. A control center 30 minutes away from it is running the company in Austria remotely and also operates 20 other plants. No humans are working in any of those facilities except for one person who drives out to make sure things are running smoothly. The robot's jobs include inspecting tasks that are coded by a software company called Energy Robotics. Boston Dynamics provided the hardware, aka robots. The Energy Robotics guys are writing the code to make these robots smart. The Doggobots should do perfectly fine on their own, as they have built-in navigation systems and obstacle avoidance. The codes they are working on can allow the dog to study the whole site and navigate through it without tumbling over and bumping its head all over the place. It will essentially tell the dog to make its way to a certain point with no problem, take a picture of something, and send it back to the operators. The cool thing is that these robots that Energy Robotics programmed aren't remote controlled. They're automatically programmed to do their tasks on their own. They're taught to do a task and repeat it throughout their day. The advantage of using these doggos is that they can usually stroll in toxic and radioactive environments whenever needed. They can also learn to detect if someone got injured or in an accident and alert the control center about it. The robot can work up to 12 hours doing inspections with intervals of 60 minutes of walking around and 60 minutes of charging. It simply walks back to its charging station and sits down to rest like a good little boy. It has a built-in accelerometer to tell if it's moving and rotating sensors in the joints that can determine how its weight is being distributed. If it feels like it's tipping forward, the program quickly tells it to find the right foot to keep balance. It has cameras on 4 sides to see where it can step. Boston Dynamics supplies an Xbox-inspired joystick. So, if you're a video game fan, then this robot is perfect for you. Boston Dynamics designs robots that let any buyer add extra modules for their business. For example, if you want to create a 3D model of a building from the inside, you can attach a sensor to the dog's back that can do the job for you. The facility in Austria isn't dangerous in any way, but just inconvenient for people to drive to, especially when the snowy season hits. Mountain roads get too risky or inaccessible. This facility and its walking paths were designed for humans to work there. That's why they need to bring in robots that can maneuver in human settings rather than get a specialized robot for a specific task. And this is the whole point of having robots working. They're supposed to be designed for their task. You won't see a humanoid working in a factory assembling some parts. They have robotic arms to do that. Boston Dynamics also houses Atlas, a humanoid that can outdo you in gymnastics. It can run, carry things, hop, dance, and even do backflips, because you can always use a backflipper at a warehouse, right? It's about 5 feet tall and weighs around 190 pounds. It's battery-powered and has an impressive set of hydraulics to keep itself balanced. It has a bunch of cameras and depth sensors connected to its control system, which is monitored and controlled through some computers with humans supervising it. Looking at their workshop, you'd think it's some sort of a parkour gym, but it's all there to train the robot to navigate through tough obstacles. In addition to backflips, the robot can jump from platform to platform. It can take the surroundings into account and make a plan with long-term and short-term goals to get from point A to point B. It also remembers if it made a misstep or had to overcome an obstacle. It's easy to control or program the robot to do a simple task. But the main challenge for them is to get them to do multiple complex tasks at the same time and repeat them. Atlas moves all its components to maintain balance, especially when doing something complex, like a backflip. It can hop over an obstacle and use its arm to control itself and make it easier to land. It's a tedious job to monitor it and see it fall all the time, but that's how the engineers make it perfect. They also teach it to stand on its own when it falls down on its face. There's a team dedicated to building the software so that you can see what it can do via programming. The hardware team is responsible for creating upgrades for Atlas. The technicians debug and repair anything that breaks. The operations team repairs the obstacle course whenever a robot crashes into something, and also studies the layout for the robot to perform a demonstration or a run. Engineered Arts released the most realistic and expressive robot on the market at the end of 2021. The company is known for creating humanoid robots for entertainment, science centers, theme parks, and businesses. They named it Amica, and it's enough to make your skin crawl. It's so detailed and lifelike, it totally looks like a real human waking up from a deep sleep. They picked the gray color for it to avoid any controversies and make it gender neutral. Unlike Atlas, which essentially has no face, Amica feels like a real person when you're looking or talking to it. It has a variety of expressions that are eerily accurate to ours and doesn't rely on speech as its main strength. For the engineers and designers, the whole point of a humanoid is to make it run smoothly and avoid being too much like a robot. It means no talking in monotonous sentences about something banal. It doesn't walk yet, but it relies on a combination of AI and robotic engineering. The communication is nonverbal, meaning it works through its expressions and gestures. It doesn't have to ask follow-up questions and give a blank stare if it doesn't understand what you're talking about. Instead, you get the feeling like you're talking to a live organism. The AI is programmed to use vision system operations, face recognition, speech recognition, and voice cloning. It makes Amica stand out from lifeless phones and gadgets. The smart guys designed a cloud-based firmware that can be updated with software repairs and features, so you don't have to be tech-savvy at all to use it. With this software design, you can change the robot's behavior from anywhere in the world. You can access the software called Tritium from a web browser with a simple login. You can spice up your Amica while driving to work, address an audience remotely, and see the system diagnostics from Engineered Arts. The robot's AI is so advanced, you can use it to work on 2 different tasks at the same time. It will even understand which task is more important and which one can wait. Besides the software at the top of its game, the hardware is equally impressive with built-in sensors, cameras, and position encoders. You can see the sensor interface as it goes on in real time from your device and monitor the response time and interactions. It looks good and is easy to read. The good news is that you can get your hands on one of these robots since it's out for the public. The bad news is that it costs more than a car. They're selling those for more than $133,000. Guess I'm not buying myself an Amica anytime soon.
If you've ever seen the second Terminator movie, you probably remember this guy, T-1000. The main character, so brilliantly played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, had a mission, and it was to protect Sarah and John Connor from that robot. It's much stronger than any human, bending steel with its bare hands and throwing much larger robots around. But its coolest feature is the ability to change its shape. Made of liquid metal, it can recover even after severe damage. You can say it's just another sci-fi movie, but hear me out. Scientists managed to create something similar to T-1000 in real life. They invented a material, which is a mix of metals with some pretty insane properties. Magnetoactive phase transitional matter, or MPTM. The robot looks more like a super tiny, Lego-sized model of its on-screen prototype. This little guy can melt in your hands at 85.6 degrees Fahrenheit and then go back to its original shape. The test run has shown it can break out of a small cell using this superpower. The secret behind what looks like magic is physics. A magnetic field generates an electric current inside one of the metals the real-life T-1000 is made of. Some heat is then produced, and solid material turns into liquid. The tiny robot can also show some other talents under the influence of magnetic fields. It can jump 20 times its height, rotate at 1,500 revolutions per minute, and develop some impressive speeds. Do you feel like you need this little guy in your life? Well, you can't buy the original yet, but you can still get yourself a Terminator action figure or building kit. As for the material that can melt and solidify again, it will have more practical uses than entertaining the audience. Imagine a tool that can reach even the tightest corners. You turn it into its liquid form. It enters the hole and then becomes solid again and seals it. Sounds like any engineer's dream. It can also serve as a welder on an LED circuit because gallium, the metal it's made of, is a great electricity conductor. And it could potentially save lives by delivering meds and removing foreign objects from patients' organs. MPTM isn't the first material that will make Terminator fans say, "Wait, I've seen it somewhere before." Meet nitinol. It's a super elastic material that remembers its original form and always goes back to it, no matter how much you bend it. So far, it's successfully used to make stents. Those are small mesh tubes that hold arteries open for those who need them. Nitinol does this job perfectly, as it can bend when it needs to under a cool temperature and goes back to its original state upon heating. It's also super durable, perfect to last a long time. That's why it's also used to produce braces for teeth, mechanical watch springs, inserts for golf clubs, and here comes my favorite, self-bending spoons used in magic shows. Another Terminator reality that has become ours too is the massive use of drones. They deliver your last-minute order of that bag you need for your vacation, take the best footage for news shows and Uncle Tim's wedding, assist search and rescue teams, transport aids, monitor wildlife, and inspect otherwise non-accessible parts of buildings. Okay, I feel it's easier to list what they don't do. In the second part of the movie, Schwarzenegger's character explains that his CPU is a neural net processor, and the more contact with humans he has, the more he learns. If you feel like rewatching the movie by now to refresh your memory, you can always get a copy on Amazon. Anyway, what the Terminator is talking about sounds a lot like real-life neural networks, doesn't it? Those are modeled kind of like a human brain. The idea is to train the computer to do tasks by analyzing thousands of training examples. An object recognition system learns what a car or a poodle looks like by looking at many, many images of those and singling out some patterns. Once they're trained enough, They can do all sorts of things, from predicting weather and the situation on the stock market to recognizing faces and choosing what Netflix shows to recommend to you. It all sounds good, but admit it, the coolest thing in the movie is those scarily human-looking robots. Many humanoid robots are now still in the project stages, but there are some which are pretty much alive and kicking. Some of them work at factories and warehouses because they're really good at logistics and manufacturing. They conduct whole orchestras, dive under the sea, help older people. Hey, is there something they aren't good at? Should we start worrying that we'll be replaced by them soon? While AI is becoming better and better, it's still luckily unlikely. Machines still don't have emotional intelligence and decision-making skills like humans. They're super smart, but they simply have no motivation to take over the world unless humans tell them to do so. And even if one AI system or app decides to break free and rule the universe, it's unlikely powerful enough to do it. So breathe out. One thing those humanoids have mastered, though, is a sense of humor. When a man approached a robot at a trade show in Las Vegas, asking if she had a boyfriend, the machine responded that she was unfortunately not on the market as robots don't have relations. Getting rejected by AI. Talk about 21st century problems. The heartbreaking robot's name was Amica. Its creators, the British company Engineered Arts, call it the world's most advanced humanoid robot. It's so detailed and lifelike that I'm not surprised that guy wanted to hit on it. Amica has a whole emotional spectrum and can show realistic astonishment and surprise and whatnot. It even yawns, shrugs, blinks, and scratches its nose. Amica's eyes have cameras, so it can remember your face and track it. That's why talking to it doesn't feel like staring at a gadget screen. It can also detect objects like a human finger in front of its face, so it will react when you approach it. This beauty is not hard to operate at all. It relies on cloud-based firmware that updates itself, and even a totally non-tech-savvy person can use Amica. You can control your robot from anywhere by simply logging into its software system. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, and your robot assistant is greeting guests and presenting your project without your physical presence. Its AI is so advanced that you can use it to work on 2 different tasks at the same time. It can even single out a more important task and make it its priority. If you feel like purchasing an Amica, be prepared to pay over $100,000. Atlas, a humanoid designed by Boston Dynamics, can run up and down the stairs, jump between levels, and pick up, carry, and throw heavy things at the right distance. Atlas can grip things using 1 fixed finger and 1 moving finger. All of this makes it an ideal warehouse helper. Its latest achievement is an inverted 540-degree multi-axis flip. It was as complicated for engineers to program the robot to do it as it sounds. And Atlas doesn't just move like a parkour champion. It can also plan the most efficient route to get from point A to point B, considering the surroundings. It also remembers when it makes a mistake or has to overcome some obstacle. It activates all of its components to maintain balance. Because all those components are 3D printed, Atlas isn't that heavy, just 196 pounds with a height of 4 feet 9 inches. Since this smart robotic guy is a research platform, you can't purchase it just yet. The engineers keep improving it, and maybe soon it will be able to walk out of the warehouse and start its own logistics company. And then you won't want to purchase Atlas, but could end up sending